The grandfather paradox. Imagine a scenario where time travel becomes possible, allowing access to a time machine. Suppose a journey to the past leads to an encounter with a young grandfather. However, an unintended action prevents him from meeting his future spouse. As a result, the existence of the traveler's parents never comes to pass, meaning the traveler is never born. This situation presents a contradiction. If the traveler was never born, how could they have gone back in time to prevent their grandfather from meeting their grandmother? Without existing, there would be no way to initiate the events that created this scenario. This contradiction is known as the grandfather paradox, a classic issue in discussions about time travel and causality. It challenges the understanding of cause and effect, questioning whether time remains consistent and whether past events can truly be altered. To visualize the paradox, consider the implications of changing the past in a way that erases one's own existence. The very act of time travel becomes impossible, as it relies on a cause-effect relationship that negates itself. The contradiction highlights how interfering with the past creates logical inconsistencies. Beyond being a theoretical puzzle, the paradox raises fundamental questions about time travel's feasibility. If such travel were possible, it could lead to contradictions and complexities in causality. One potential resolution involves the theory of parallel universes or alternate timelines. According to this concept, traveling to the past and altering events would create a new, separate timeline. The original timeline remains unchanged, while the new one reflects the consequences of the traveler's actions. This theory resolves the paradox by proposing that different realities branch off instead of a single fixed timeline being altered. Another explanation involves time loops or closed time-like curves, where events in the past are already part of an unchangeable cycle. Under this perspective, actions taken in the past were always meant to happen, meaning that significant events cannot be changed. This maintains consistency by ensuring that time travel does not lead to contradictions. The paradox also sparks debates on the limits of understanding time and causality. It challenges conventional ideas about cause and effect, encouraging a re-evaluation of whether past events can be changed. More than just a thought experiment, the paradox holds significance in fields such as physics, philosophy, and popular culture. In physics, it raises questions about whether time travel is theoretically possible within the laws of nature. Theories like Einstein's relativity suggest time travel could exist under specific conditions, but constraints, such as the need for infinite energy or the nature of closed time-like curves, might prevent paradoxes. Some physicists argue that natural laws impose restrictions that keep such contradictions from occurring. Philosophically, the paradox challenges ideas of determinism and free will. If traveling to the past were possible, it would prompt questions about whether events are predetermined or whether individual actions can truly alter the course of history. Exploring the paradox forces a deeper reflection on reality and the nature of time. In popular culture, the paradox has inspired numerous fictional works, from novels to films, that explore the consequences of time travel. Many stories play with the paradox creatively, illustrating the difficulties and possible resolutions associated with altering past events. Looking ahead, the grandfather paradox remains a valuable thought experiment for exploring the mysteries of time. While time travel remains a theoretical concept, studying this paradox sheds light on the challenges that would arise if it were ever achieved. By examining these ideas, a greater understanding of time, causality, and the nature of reality emerges. The liar's paradox stands as a timeless and thought-provoking enigma in both philosophy and logic, examining the essence of truth and self-referential statements. This paradox emerges from expressions that refer to themselves in a manner that generates an unavoidable contradiction. To grasp the essence of this paradox, let's explore its fundamental structure and the broader implications it holds for our comprehension of logical principles. At its most basic, the liar's paradox is encapsulated in the statement, "This statement is false." Analyzing this declaration requires an evaluation of its truthfulness. If the assertion is indeed true, then it correctly describes itself as false. However, if it is false, then it must, in reality, be true, leading to an irreconcilable contradiction. Since the claim cannot simultaneously be both true and false in a consistent manner, this paradox exposes a core issue with self-referential expressions within conventional binary logic systems, where statements are generally classified as either true or false. The liar's paradox disrupts this dichotomy, introducing a scenario in which a statement's truthfulness remains fundamentally indeterminate. Discussions surrounding this paradox date back to ancient philosophical debates. One of the earliest recorded instances originates with the Greek thinker Epimenides, who famously stated, "All Cretans are liars." Given that Epimenides himself was a Cretan, his assertion functions as a self-referential claim. If his declaration holds true, then, as a Cretan, he must be lying, producing a contradiction. Conversely, if he is being untruthful, then not all Cretans can be liars, rendering his statement false. This historical example illustrates the paradoxical nature of self-referential assertions. In modern logical analysis, the liar's paradox is frequently expressed in the more direct form. This statement is false. This precise formulation succinctly captures the paradox's core, offering a clear demonstration of how self-reference can result in logical inconsistencies. The paradox challenges the traditional method of categorizing statements into distinct truth classifications and exposes deeper complexities in the very foundations of logical reasoning. Expanding upon the basic paradox, variations introduce additional layers of complexity. For instance, consider the phrase, "This statement is neither true nor false." This alternative version suggests that certain expressions might elude the traditional binary framework of truth and falsity, raising questions regarding whether additional logical classifications or conceptual frameworks are required to process such cases. Another variation emerges when multiple self-referential statements interrelate, creating intricate networks of self-reference that further amplify the paradox. These extensions demonstrate that the paradox is not confined to a single formulation, but rather serves as a tool for investigating various facets of self-reference and logical coherence. The implications of the liar's paradox extend far beyond theoretical logic, influencing the study of formal reasoning and mathematical systems. It reveals vulnerabilities in conventional logical structures that rely on rigid binary truth values. By presenting a scenario in which a statement defies clear categorization, the paradox challenges the sufficiency of traditional logical methodologies in handling self-referential and contradictory assertions. This paradox also serves as a foundation for the exploration of advanced logical theories aimed at addressing such fundamental issues. Understanding the liar's paradox requires an examination of how formal reasoning structures can be adapted to circumvent contradictions and coherently incorporate self-referential statements. This paradox is not merely an intellectual curiosity, but a significant philosophical challenge that calls attention to the complexities of self-reference. By investigating these challenges, we can gain a deeper appreciation of the intricate issues that arise within logical and philosophical discourse. At its core, the paradox exposes crucial flaws in classical logical systems, particularly in relation to self-reference and the nature of truth. Classical logic dictates that all statements must fall into one of two categories, true or false. However, the liar's paradox disrupts this binary framework, as the assertion "this statement is false" cannot be consistently assigned either truth value without generating a contradiction. This paradox ultimately questions the assumption that every proposition must possess a definite truth classification. When statements reference themselves in a circular manner, conventional binary logic fails to provide a consistent resolution, highlighting its limitations in addressing self-referential expressions. Beyond logic, the paradox holds significance within mathematical and formal systems. These structured frameworks are designed to maintain consistency and avoid contradictions. However, the liar's paradox exposes potential weaknesses in these systems, particularly in cases involving self-referential assertions. One approach to mitigating these issues involves modifying formal systems to restrict paradox-inducing statements. Bertrand Russell's type theory, for example, introduces a hierarchical structuring of sets, preventing self-referential loops by ensuring that a set cannot contain itself or reference others at the same level. This layered approach helps circumvent contradictions by eliminating problematic self-reference. From a philosophical standpoint, the liar's paradox raises profound questions regarding the nature of truth and meaning. It challenges the conventional view that statements can be universally categorized as either true or false, encouraging more nuanced approaches to conceptualizing truth. The paradox suggests that existing truth frameworks may be inherently limited and that alternative perspectives might be necessary to account for self-referential cases. Additionally, it underscores the complexities of language and interpretation, demonstrating how self-referential statements can create logical cycles that defy standard understanding. These insights emphasize the necessity of careful examination when analyzing meaning and language structure. Various responses to the liar's paradox have been proposed in an effort to address its logical challenges. One approach involves semantic theories, which investigate how meaning and truth function in the context of self-reference. These frameworks seek to define and interpret truth-bearing statements in a manner that avoids contradictions. Another perspective, known as dialetheism, posits that some statements can be both true and false simultaneously. This alternative approach challenges the conventional binary notion of truth and offers a way to accommodate paradoxical expressions without leading to logical breakdowns. The liar's paradox has influenced multiple fields beyond philosophy, shaping advancements in computer science, mathematics, linguistics, and theoretical reasoning. In computer science, it highlights the necessity of properly handling self-reference and recursion within algorithms and programming structures. Recursive functions, which reference themselves in execution, must be carefully managed to prevent infinite loops or undefined behaviors reminiscent of the logical inconsistencies found in the paradox. Techniques, such as base cases and recursion, serve to ensure termination and avoid paradoxical outcomes. Insights drawn from paradoxes like this one contribute to refining computational logic and algorithm design. Mathematical logic has also been deeply impacted by the paradox, leading to groundbreaking developments such as Gödel's incompleteness theorems. These theorems demonstrate that within any sufficiently advanced formal system, there exist statements that cannot be definitively proven as true or false, echoing the self-referential dilemmas posed by the liar's paradox. Gödel's findings reveal fundamental limitations in formal mathematical reasoning, reinforcing the idea that no system can be both entirely complete and wholly consistent. In linguistics, the paradox informs the study of self-reference and the interpretation of meaning in language. The challenges presented by self-referential statements force scholars to reconsider traditional semantic models and explore alternative ways to analyze truth and falsity in language. Semantic theories provide insight into how meaning functions when self-reference is involved, contributing to a richer understanding of linguistic structures. Beyond academic disciplines, the liar's paradox holds cultural and artistic significance, frequently appearing in literature, art, and media. Many works incorporate themes of paradox, self-reference, and truth, using them as narrative devices to explore deeper philosophical questions. The paradox serves as an enduring symbol of the complexities and contradictions inherent in our attempts to define reality and logic. In popular culture, discussions of logic, philosophy, and science fiction frequently reference paradoxical reasoning, reflecting humanity's ongoing fascination with the mysteries of self-reference and truth. Ultimately, the liar's paradox continues to challenge our understanding of logic, mathematics, and language, revealing the limitations of conventional frameworks while inspiring new approaches to reasoning and truth. As we further explore its implications, the paradox remains a compelling demonstration of the intricate interplay between logic, meaning, and self-reference. The ship of Theseus presents one of the most enduring and thought-provoking puzzles in philosophy, raising profound questions about identity, change, and what it means for something to remain the same over time. The paradox centers on the idea of gradual replacement. If a ship has each of its parts replaced one by one over many years until none of the original components remain, can it still be considered the same ship? This seemingly straightforward question has deep implications for how we think about objects, identity, and continuity. The paradox is named after Theseus, a legendary figure in Greek mythology. According to the story, after Theseus returned from his many adventures, including his famous encounter with the Minotaur, the Athenians preserved his ship in honor of his heroism. Over time, the ship's wooden parts began to decay. To maintain it, the Athenians replaced each plank, mast, and beam with new materials. Eventually, every part of the ship had been replaced. This raises a fundamental question. After all these replacements, is it still the same vessel that Theseus originally sailed? At first glance, it might seem obvious that the ship remains the same. It retains its form, function, and purpose, and continues to be recognized as the ship of Theseus, symbolizing his legacy and a part of Athenian history. However, if identity is tied to physical components, then how can it be the same ship if none of the original materials remain? This leads to the philosophical concept of identity over time, how something can maintain its identity despite undergoing changes. One approach to this problem is the idea of physical continuity, the belief that an object's identity is preserved as long as there is some form of physical connection between its past and present states. According to this view, as the ship's original parts are replaced, its identity is gradually compromised, and eventually, it becomes a different ship. This raises further questions. If identity depends on physical continuity, how many parts must be replaced before the ship is no longer the same? Is there a specific threshold at which it ceases to be the ship of Theseus, or does its identity fade gradually? Another perspective focuses on conceptual identity, the idea that an object's identity is not tied to its physical materials, but to its role or concept. From this standpoint, the ship of Theseus remains the same as long as it continues to fulfill the same function and is recognized as the same entity by society. This suggests that its identity is preserved through continuity of form, purpose, and meaning rather than physical components. This conceptual approach aligns with how identity is often understood in everyday life. Consider a museum artifact restored with new material. Despite physical changes, it may still be regarded as authentic because it represents the same historical object. Similarly, the ship of Theseus might retain its identity as long as it continues to be valued as Theseus's ship, regardless of the changes it has undergone. However, this raises another question. When we say it is the same ship, are we identifying a physical object, a concept, or something else entirely? If identity is conceptual rather than physical, does that mean any object could be considered the same as long as it fits the concept? The paradox becomes even more complex when considering an additional scenario. What if all the original parts that were removed were carefully stored and later reassembled into a second ship? Now, there are two ships, one made entirely of new parts and another reconstructed from the original materials. Which, if either, is the true ship of Theseus? This scenario introduces the idea of reassembly, complicating the notions of physical and conceptual identity. If identity is tied to original materials, then the reassembled ship should be considered the authentic ship of Theseus, as it consists of the very same parts that once formed the original vessel. In this view, the ship that underwent gradual repairs with new parts is merely a replica, despite maintaining the same function and form. Zeno's dichotomy. Zeno's dichotomy paradox questions the nature of motion and infinity. Imagine running a race. Before reaching the finish line, you must first cover half the distance, then half of the remaining distance, and so on infinitely. If there are endless steps to take, how can you ever finish the race? This paradox challenges our intuitive understanding of movement, suggesting that motion itself should be impossible. Zeno, a follower of Parmenides, used this paradox to argue that change and motion are illusions. He aimed to expose contradictions in the concept of movement, prompting deep philosophical reflection on the nature of reality. However, modern mathematics, specifically calculus, developed by Newton and Leibniz, resolves the paradox. Though infinite steps exist, their size diminishes rapidly, allowing finite completion. In practice, we experience motion seamlessly. Everyday tasks, such as writing a book or assembling furniture, involve many small steps, but ultimately lead to completion. The paradox highlights the counterintuitive nature of infinity and has influenced mathematics, philosophy, and even popular culture. It has inspired explorations of time, space, and reality, shaping scientific advancements and creative thought. By addressing Zeno's paradox, calculus has become a fundamental tool for understanding motion, growth, and change. The paradox remains a fascinating topic, encouraging critical thinking about infinity and continuity while demonstrating how abstract concepts shape our understanding of the world. Barber paradox. The Barber paradox, introduced by Bertrand Russell in the early 20th century, is a classic example of a self-referential paradox that exposes fundamental issues in logic and set theory. It presents a scenario involving a barber in a small town who follows a specific rule. He shaves all and only those men who do not shave themselves. This seemingly simple rule leads to a logical contradiction when considering whether the barber shaves himself. If the barber shaves himself, he should not, according to his own rule. Conversely, if he does not shave himself, then he falls into the category of men he must shave. This paradox highlights the problems that arise in self-referential systems, where defining a set that includes or excludes itself leads to contradictions. The Barber paradox is a specific instance of Russell's paradox, which challenges the consistency of formal systems in mathematics and logic. In the early 20th century, mathematicians sought to establish a solid foundation for set theory. However, paradoxes like Russell's revealed flaws in naive set theory, where sets could be defined in terms of themselves. The Barber paradox illustrates that self-referential definitions can lead to contradictions, necessitating a more refined approach to set theory. This paradox extends beyond theoretical concerns, influencing formal logic, mathematics, and philosophy. It forces reconsideration of how sets and formal rules are structured to avoid inconsistencies. The resolution of such paradoxes led to the development of more robust mathematical frameworks, such as Russell's type theory and Zermelo-Fraenkel's set theory, ZF, which impose restrictions to prevent self-referential definitions and paradoxes. Type theory, introduced by Russell, categorizes sets into hierarchical levels, preventing them from referring to themselves. Zermelo-Fraenkel's set theory, on the other hand, includes the axiom of regularity, which ensures no set is a member of itself. These approaches have been instrumental in addressing self-referential paradoxes and establishing consistency in mathematical logic. Beyond mathematics, the Barber paradox has implications in computer science, particularly in programming and database theory. Self-referential paradoxes highlight challenges in designing algorithms that handle recursion. In programming, recursion allows functions to call themselves, but improper handling can lead to infinite loops or contradictions. Similarly, in database theory, recursive queries require careful design to avoid paradoxical structures. Philosophically, the Barber paradox raises questions about self-reference, truth, and the limits of formal reasoning. It underscores the importance of precise definitions in constructing logical systems. Self-referential paradoxes also appear in linguistic and cognitive studies, where they challenge our ability to define concepts consistently. Understanding and resolving such paradoxes help in refining logical frameworks and exploring the nature of formal reasoning. In education, the Barber paradox serves as an effective tool for teaching logic and set theory. It encourages critical thinking by illustrating how paradoxes arise from self-referential rules. Students learn the importance of rigor in defining mathematical and logical structures. Studying paradoxes like this also provides historical context for the development of modern mathematical logic and the efforts to address foundational issues in set theory. The influence of the Barber paradox extends into popular culture, literature, and media. Self-referential paradoxes often serve as motifs in fiction, exploring themes of identity, truth, and reality. Works in literature and film that delve into recursion and logical loops draw inspiration from paradoxes like this, making complex philosophical ideas accessible to a broader audience. Ultimately, the Barber paradox illustrates the complexities of self-referential systems and the challenges of defining logical rules that avoid contradictions. It has played a significant role in shaping mathematical logic, computer science, and philosophy. By addressing the issues raised by this paradox, mathematicians and logicians continue to refine formal systems, ensuring their consistency and applicability. The paradox remains a valuable conceptual tool in understanding the limits of human reasoning and the structure of formal logic. The paradox of choice is the counterintuitive idea that having more options does not always lead to greater satisfaction. In fact, an abundance of choices can result in anxiety, regret, and dissatisfaction. Psychologist Barry Schwartz popularized this concept in his book The Paradox of Choice: Why More is Less. Imagine visiting an ice cream shop with 10 flavors. While having more options seems beneficial, the sheer number of choices can be overwhelming, making the decision stressful. This phenomenon is driven by several psychological factors. One key factor is decision fatigue. When faced with numerous options, evaluating each one becomes mentally exhausting, potentially leading to indecision or regret. Another factor is the tendency to second-guess decisions. With many choices, people worry that a better option was missed, overshadowing satisfaction with their final choice. The expectation of perfection also plays a role. People believe that the ideal choice exists and strive to find it, which can lead to dissatisfaction even when a good option is chosen. Choice overload can reduce well-being by increasing stress and making people feel less content with their decisions. Psychologists distinguish between maximizers and satisficers. Maximizers seek the best possible choice and often feel anxious and regretful, whereas satisficers are content with a choice that meets their criteria. Research suggests that satisficers experience greater satisfaction with their decisions. Another related issue is choice paralysis. When overwhelmed by too many options, individuals may struggle to decide or avoid making a choice altogether. This can lead to frustration and reduced happiness. Self-doubt and the fear of missing out further contribute to dissatisfaction, as people question whether they made the right decision. Social comparison exacerbates this issue, as individuals compare their choices with others and feel inadequate if they believe someone else made a better selection. Opportunity cost is another major factor. When many options exist, people become more aware of what they are sacrificing, leading to greater dissatisfaction with their final choice. This is evident in various aspects of life, including shopping, career decisions, and personal relationships. For instance, studies on consumer behavior show that people are more likely to buy and be satisfied when presented with fewer options. A well-known study on jam selection found that customers were more likely to make a purchase when given fewer choices rather than a large assortment. Career decisions are also affected by the paradox of choice. With numerous career paths available, individuals may feel overwhelmed, leading to indecision and dissatisfaction. Fear of missing out on a better opportunity can create anxiety and regret, even after making a choice. Similarly, in personal relationships, dating apps provide an overwhelming number of potential partners. This abundance of choice can lead to difficulty in commitment, as individuals constantly wonder if a better match exists. As a result, people may feel less satisfied with their relationships. To mitigate the negative effects of choice overload, several strategies can be employed. One effective approach is decision simplification, narrowing options and focusing on key criteria to make choices more manageable. Setting clear priorities helps reduce cognitive strain and increases satisfaction. Limiting choices is another helpful strategy. By intentionally restricting the number of options, individuals can reduce decision fatigue and feel more content with their final choice. For instance, when shopping, considering only a limited number of products can lead to quicker and more satisfying decisions. Adopting a satisficing mindset instead of maximizing can also help. Accepting that no choice is perfect and focusing on finding a good enough option reduces stress and improves overall happiness. Practicing gratitude and acceptance can further enhance satisfaction. Acknowledging the positive aspects of a decision and accepting trade-offs can minimize regret and increase contentment. In summary, the paradox of choice reveals how excessive options can lead to dissatisfaction, stress, and indecision. Understanding its psychological mechanisms and implementing strategies to manage choices effectively can lead to better decision-making and increased overall happiness. Bootstrap paradox. The bootstrap paradox, also known as the causal loop or ontological paradox, challenges our understanding of time and causality. It occurs in time travel scenarios where an object or information is sent back in time, becoming the cause of its own existence, forming a self-sustaining loop with no clear origin. A classic example involves a time traveler bringing a famous novel to the past, giving it to an aspiring writer. The writer then publishes the book, which the traveler later takes back in time. In this scenario, the book has no clear point of creation, existing solely within the loop. This paradox raises questions about causality, as events seemingly cause themselves without an initial source. Time travel theories complicate our perception of cause and effect. In classical physics, time follows a linear path: past, present, future. The bootstrap paradox disrupts this notion by presenting a non-linear loop where events sustain themselves. It also challenges the nature of existence, questioning how something can exist without an original source. Another example involves a time traveler delivering blueprints for an advanced machine to a scientist in the past. The scientist builds the machine, which is later used to send the blueprints back in time, completing the loop. This recursive cycle raises concerns about logical consistency, stability, and whether such loops could lead to contradictions or timeline inconsistencies. The paradox also touches on philosophical debates regarding free will and determinism. If events are predestined within a loop, do individuals have free will, or are their actions dictated by the loop? If time travel were possible, could such loops exist without logical paradoxes, or would they collapse under inconsistencies? The broader implications of the bootstrap paradox extend to our understanding of reality, time, and knowledge. It challenges the assumption that every effect must have a distinct cause and questions whether time is strictly linear. By exploring alternative models, such as cyclical or multidimensional time, we might better understand such complexities. The paradox also highlights the role of information in shaping reality. If knowledge exists within a causal loop, how is it created or transmitted? Does this challenge conventional notions of knowledge and discovery? Such questions encourage us to reconsider how we define existence, causality, and the potential consequences of time travel. Ultimately, the bootstrap paradox serves as a fascinating exploration of time, causality, and reality, pushing us to rethink our assumptions and consider alternative perspectives on the nature of the universe. Sorite's paradox. The Sorite's paradox is a long-standing philosophical puzzle that challenges our understanding of categorization, definitions, and vagueness. It highlights the difficulty of drawing clear boundaries when gradual, incremental changes blur distinctions. Originating from the Greek word soros, meaning heap, the paradox is often attributed to the ancient philosopher Eubulides of Miletus. It is classically presented as follows: a single grain of sand is not a heap. Adding one grain to a non-heap does not create a heap. If this reasoning continues, it appears a heap never forms, yet at some point, we intuitively recognize a collection of grains as a heap. This paradox questions how and when vague concepts transition from one state to another. At its core, the Sorite's paradox is a problem of vagueness. when a concept lacks a precise boundary, creating borderline cases that resist clear classification. This issue extends beyond heaps of sand, affecting terms like tall, rich, or old, where no definitive threshold exists. For example, if $1 does not make a person rich and adding $1 never suddenly makes them rich, then when does wealth begin? Traditional logic, which relies on binary true or false categorization, struggles with such vagueness. One possible resolution is epistemicism, which argues that a precise threshold exists but is unknowable. Another approach is fuzzy logic, which allows for degrees of truth, e.g., a pile of sand may be 30% or 70% a heap, rather than simply a heap or non-heap. Supervaluationism suggests that while no single precise boundary exists, we can still use vague terms meaningfully by considering multiple plausible definitions. Beyond philosophy, the Sorites paradox has practical implications in law, medicine, ethics, and artificial intelligence. Legal terms like reasonable or negligent often involve borderline cases, and medical ethics debates on quality of life face similar ambiguity. In AI, systems relying on binary classification struggle with concepts that lack clear-cut distinctions, such as identifying spam or determining risk levels. Different philosophical approaches offer ways to navigate this paradox. Contextualism suggests meaning depends on context, while par-consistent logic allows contradictions without collapsing reasoning. Ultimately, the Sorites paradox underscores the complexities of categorization, encouraging more nuanced thinking in both theoretical and real-world applications. Unexpected exam paradox. The unexpected exam paradox is a logical puzzle that explores the tension between prediction and surprise. It begins with a teacher announcing that an exam will occur during the upcoming week, but will be a surprise. This paradox challenges students to reconcile an exam being both scheduled and unexpected. Students attempt to determine the exam day based on logic. If the exam were on Friday, they would know by Thursday night, eliminating the element of surprise. Using similar reasoning, they rule out Thursday, Wednesday, and so on, leading to the conclusion that the exam cannot happen on any day. However, when the teacher administers the exam midweek, the students are indeed surprised, contradicting their logical deduction. This paradox highlights the conflict between reasoning and actual outcomes. The students' attempt to predict the exam day results in eliminating all possibilities, yet the exam still occurs unexpectedly. This challenges how we understand surprise, prediction, and expectation. One key aspect of the paradox is self-referential reasoning. The teacher's statement influences the student's thought process, creating a loop where their reasoning undermines their ability to be surprised. The paradox also demonstrates epistemic uncertainty, as students lack complete knowledge of when the exam will occur. Despite logical reasoning suggesting the exam is impossible, it still takes place. Confirmation bias also plays a role. Students focus on eliminating days based on the surprise condition, leading to an erroneous conclusion. Decision theory and dynamic prediction models further illustrate the limitations of static reasoning. Unlike rigid models, dynamic reasoning allows for evolving information, making it better suited for handling uncertainty. Beyond logic, the paradox has philosophical, practical, and educational implications. It challenges the belief that logical reasoning can fully predict future events, emphasizing the inherent uncertainty in knowledge. In decision-making and risk management, it underscores the need to prepare for unexpected outcomes. In education, it raises questions about the effectiveness of surprise exams and their impact on learning. The paradox also sheds light on human psychology, showing how expectations shape perceptions of surprise. Ultimately, the unexpected exam paradox highlights the limitations of logical reasoning when dealing with unpredictability. It serves as a reminder that while logic is a powerful tool, it has boundaries, particularly in scenarios involving uncertainty and surprise. This paradox offers valuable insights into how we predict, reason, and experience unexpected events in various aspects of life. Hempel's paradox. The Hempel's paradox, also known as the paradox of the ravens, challenges our understanding of how evidence supports a hypothesis. It questions our intuition about what counts as confirmation for a given claim. The paradox starts with a simple hypothesis: all ravens are black. Normally, observing black ravens supports this claim. However, Hempel's paradox suggests that observing non-ravens can also provide evidence. According to classical confirmation theory, if an object is not a raven and is black, such as a black car, it does not contradict the hypothesis and thus supports it. Even more surprisingly, observing a non-black, non-raven object like a green apple also counts as confirmation because it does not disprove the hypothesis. This counterintuitive conclusion highlights the complexities of confirmation theory. While logically sound, it clashes with our expectations about what should be considered relevant evidence. The paradox forces us to reconsider how we determine whether observations meaningfully support a hypothesis. Several examples illustrate the paradox. Observing a black raven aligns with the hypothesis and directly confirms it. Observing a black cat, though not a raven, indirectly supports the hypothesis since it does not contradict it. Observing a green apple, despite seeming unrelated, technically adds support under confirmation theory. Observing a white raven, however, directly disproves the hypothesis. The paradox raises important philosophical questions about the nature of evidence. It demonstrates that hypotheses are often evaluated in the context of broader beliefs and challenges traditional notions of confirmation. While formal logic suggests any non-contradictory observation supports a hypothesis, practical scientific reasoning requires focusing on directly relevant evidence. Hempel's paradox also relates to confirmation bias, where people may selectively interpret evidence to support their beliefs. The paradox serves as a reminder to critically assess how evidence is used in reasoning and scientific inquiry. Hempel's paradox forces us to rethink the relationship between observation and hypothesis confirmation. It underscores the need for contextual relevance in evaluating evidence, highlighting both the power and limitations of formal logical reasoning in real-world scientific practice. The paradox of the unexpected hanging. The paradox of the unexpected hanging, also known as the unexpected examination paradox, is a thought-provoking logical puzzle about prediction and surprise. It challenges our understanding of foresight and how an event can be both anticipated and unexpected simultaneously. In this paradox, a judge informs a prisoner that he will be executed at noon on a weekday in the coming week, but the execution will be a surprise. This means the prisoner will not know the exact day until it happens. The prisoner begins to reason through the possibilities. First, he eliminates Friday, thinking that if he survives until Thursday night, he would know the hanging must happen on Friday, contradicting the element of surprise. Applying the same logic, he eliminates Thursday, as by Wednesday night, Thursday would be predictable. Extending this reasoning, he rules out Wednesday, Tuesday, and finally Monday. By this process, he concludes that the execution cannot happen at all. However, if the judge carries out the execution on, say, Wednesday, the prisoner is taken by surprise, contradicting his own conclusion. This paradox highlights a deep conflict between logic, expectation, and reality, making it one of the most intriguing puzzles in philosophy and logic. The paradox of perfect murder and unexpected hanging. The paradox of the unexpected hanging reveals the tension between logical reasoning and surprise. A prisoner, logically deducing that the execution cannot happen without violating the element of surprise, paradoxically finds himself surprised when it does occur. This contradiction highlights the limitations of certain logical frameworks when applied to real-world scenarios. At its core, this paradox challenges our understanding of prediction and knowledge. It forces us to reconsider how we process information, particularly when self-referential reasoning creates logical loops. The prisoner eliminates each day as a possibility based on the assumption that he will be able to foresee the event. However, this process ultimately fails because it does not account for the nature of surprise itself. Epistemic logic, the study of knowledge and belief, provides insight into this paradox. It demonstrates how individuals' knowledge, or lack thereof, interacts with uncertainty. Similar ideas appear in Gödel's incompleteness theorems, which suggest that within any formal system, some truths remain unprovable. The prisoner's logic, seemingly flawless, ultimately fails because it cannot accommodate the unpredictability of certain outcomes. Game theory also offers a perspective, treating the prisoner's predicament as a strategic problem where he tries to anticipate an unpredictable event. The interaction between logical reasoning and real-world unpredictability demonstrates the complexity of expectations and surprise. The paradox underscores how logical predictions can fail when dealing with elements of uncertainty. Beyond theoretical implications, this paradox also has practical relevance in fields like decision theory, risk management, and even artificial intelligence. Understanding how surprise and uncertainty play into expectations is crucial for real-world applications, from business forecasting to law enforcement strategies. The paradox of the perfect murder. A perfect murder is often defined as one committed without evidence, witnesses, or any chance of being solved. However, achieving this level of perfection is nearly impossible due to the unpredictability of human actions, environmental factors, and advancing forensic science. The paradox of the perfect murder arises from the tension between theoretical perfection and real-world limitations. For a crime to be truly perfect, it would require flawless execution, leaving no traceable evidence or connections to the perpetrator. Yet, history shows that even the most meticulously planned crimes are often solved due to minor oversights or advancements in investigative techniques. The unpredictability of external factors, such as random witnesses, unforeseen forensic discoveries, or evolving technology, makes true perfection in crime an unattainable ideal. This paradox extends into philosophical discussions on perfection itself. Is perfection an achievable state or merely an abstract ideal? Ethical questions also emerge. Does the possibility of a perfect crime challenge our concept of justice? Or does justice exist independently of detection? Even if a murder were never discovered, the moral implications of the act remain unchanged. From a legal perspective, the pursuit of a perfect crime highlights the evolving nature of criminal justice. With continuous advancements in forensic science and surveillance, the feasibility of committing a crime without leaving a trace diminishes. The justice system adapts to new challenges, ensuring that even seemingly unsolvable crimes can eventually be uncovered. In broader terms, the paradox of the perfect murder reflects humanity's struggle with the idea of absolute control. Whether in crime, technology, or daily life, the pursuit of perfection is often undermined by unforeseen variables. This paradox serves as a reminder of the limits of human control and the ever-present role of chance in shaping outcomes. The paradox of self-replicating machines. The concept of self-replicating machines is a fascinating leap in automation and technology. These machines can create exact copies of themselves using raw materials and energy from their surroundings, requiring no external intervention. The idea dates back to the 1940s when mathematician John von Neumann introduced the theoretical model of a universal constructor, a machine capable of building not only replicas of itself, but also other complex structures. For a self-replicating machine to function, it must first gather and process raw materials, such as metals or plastics. It then manufactures precise components through cutting, shaping, and assembling before integrating them into a fully operational duplicate. Once complete, this new machine can repeat the process, leading to exponential growth in replication. Self-replicating machines hold great potential in fields like nanotechnology and space exploration. In space missions, they could build spacecraft and habitats using extraterrestrial resources, reducing dependency on Earth for supplies. At a microscopic level, self-replicating nanobots could revolutionize material science and medical advancements by assembling complex structures with molecular precision. However, several challenges and paradoxes arise with self-replication. One major concern is resource management. These machines require vast amounts of raw materials, raising sustainability issues. Another challenge is the risk of uncontrolled replication, often referred to as the gray goo problem, where malfunctioning nanobots could consume all available resources uncontrollably. Ensuring precision and replication is also a significant hurdle, as even minor errors in self-assembly could result in faulty machines and systemic failures. Beyond technical concerns, self-replicating machines pose philosophical and ethical questions. If machines can autonomously reproduce, what role remains for human labor and creativity? The rise of self-replicating automation could reshape industries, economies, and social structures, potentially reducing human involvement in manufacturing while also raising concerns about accountability and oversight. The balance between machine autonomy and human control is crucial in mitigating risks and ensuring responsible technological development. While self-replicating machines could drive innovation in manufacturing, space exploration, and beyond, they require careful management to prevent unintended consequences. Ethical considerations, resource sustainability, and control mechanisms must be in place to align this advancement with societal needs and values. The paradox of self-replicating machines, with its blend of promise and potential peril, serves as a compelling exploration of the future of automation and human interaction with technology. Paradox of the ruler. The paradox of the ruler is a philosophical dilemma that questions the nature of authority, decision-making, and rationality. It explores whether a ruler can make truly autonomous and rational decisions while balancing the interests of their domain. This paradox arises from the inherent complexities of leadership, where decisions must align with both logical reasoning and the ruler's authoritative role. A common illustration of this paradox involves a ruler choosing between two conflicting policies, one benefiting the majority but burdening a minority, and another favoring the minority at the expense of the majority. The challenge lies in making a decision that is both rational and just, considering factors like public welfare, economic stability, and political pressures. This raises concerns about whether rulers can remain unbiased or if their authority inherently influences their choices. Rationality in decision-making is expected to rely on logic and evidence. However, rulers often face personal biases, political constraints, and the necessity to maintain power. This challenges the notion that a ruler can make purely rational decisions. Furthermore, authority itself is built on societal structures and assumptions, which may limit a ruler's capacity for unbiased judgment. The paradox also highlights the complexity of leadership in real-world governance. Decisions are rarely straightforward, requiring consideration of multiple factors and long-term consequences. Transparency and accountability become crucial to ensuring that decisions are justified and fair, rather than dictated solely by authority. Expertise and consultation play a vital role in mitigating this paradox. Rulers who seek diverse perspectives and rely on advisors can enhance the rationality and effectiveness of their decisions. This approach helps counteract personal biases and increases the likelihood of balanced, well-informed outcomes. The implications of this paradox extend beyond politics to business and organizational leadership. It underscores the need for decision-making frameworks that promote transparency, stakeholder engagement, and ethical considerations. Leaders must recognize the limitations of authority and incorporate rational, inclusive approaches to governance. Additionally, the paradox raises concerns about power imbalances. Concentrated authority can lead to biased or self-serving decisions, highlighting the importance of equitable distribution of power in representative decision-making processes. The paradox also prompts reflections on ethical leadership. Authority should align with moral principles and the well-being of society. Ethical considerations must be integrated into governance to ensure fairness and justice. Moreover, as technology advances, tools like data analytics and artificial intelligence can aid decision-making. However, technology alone cannot resolve the challenges of authority and rationality. Ethical and social factors must be considered. In a rapidly evolving world, Understanding the paradox of the ruler remains crucial for leadership and governance. By acknowledging the limitations of authority and emphasizing rationality, transparency, and accountability, leaders can navigate complex decisions more effectively. This paradox challenges us to build decision-making systems that are fair, logical, and ethically sound, fostering more just and effective leadership. The lottery paradox. Imagine you've just bought a ticket for a massive lottery. The odds of winning are incredibly low, perhaps 1 in 10 million. Despite this, holding that ticket fills you with hope and excitement. There's a curious sense of confidence that you could be the lucky winner, even though the statistical likelihood is overwhelmingly against you. This phenomenon is known as the lottery paradox. At its core, the paradox highlights the contradiction between individual belief and statistical reality. In a large lottery, every ticket holder can maintain optimism about their chances, yet only a handful, or even just one, will win. This creates a logical inconsistency. How can so many people believe in their victory when almost all will lose? To illustrate, imagine a lottery with 10 million tickets. Each ticket has a mere 1 in 10 million chance of winning. If every participant believes they might win, their conviction appears irrational. However, on a personal level, it makes sense. People focus on their own ticket's potential rather than the probability of the entire group losing. This paradox underscores the tension between personal belief and collective statistical truth. A key aspect of the paradox is the distinction between subjective and objective probability. Subjective probability refers to an individual's personal confidence in an outcome, shaped by emotions and hopes. Objective probability, on the other hand, is the actual mathematical likelihood of an event occurring. In the lottery, personal optimism can lead people to believe their ticket has a better chance than it truly does. This contrast between subjective belief and objective probability is what fuels the paradox. Psychological biases further explain why people maintain hope despite the odds. One such bias is the optimism bias, where individuals overestimate their chances of success in low-probability situations. This helps explain why lottery participants can rationally believe in their potential to win, even when the odds are stacked against them. Beyond lotteries, the paradox extends to many real-world scenarios. People often take risks in gambling, investing, and even health-related decisions despite knowing the low probability of success. It also challenges traditional decision-making models that assume individuals act purely based on objective probabilities. Instead, emotions and personal beliefs heavily influence choices, sometimes leading to seemingly irrational behavior. From a broader perspective, the lottery paradox contributes to discussions in probability theory and decision-making. It highlights the difficulty of aligning subjective belief with objective probability, questioning models that assume purely rational thought processes. Understanding this paradox gives insight into how humans perceive risk, make decisions, and navigate uncertainty in daily life. The lottery paradox is a compelling illustration of how hope and personal belief shape behavior. Despite statistical realities, emotions play a crucial role in decision-making. By exploring this paradox, we gain a deeper appreciation of the complex relationship between probability, belief, and human psychology.